Today we will look at the biggest winners and losers from this budget. उसके साथ हम ये भी डिस्कस करेंगे कि मंडी को FIIs क्या करने वाले हैं. With that said, let's get going. The biggest beneficiary of this budget was by far the agricultural sector. And within that, probably the biggest hidden beneficiary is Knowledge Marine Engineering Works. And ये company actually agricultural sector में है ही नहीं. इनका main काम dredging का है, but they have started getting some exposure into dredging for the agricultural sector. एंड हमारे फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर ने बहुत क्लियरली मेंशन किया था कि हम सी फूड एक्सपोर्ट्स को एक फोकस बनाना चाहते हैं. इफ दैट इज टू हैपन, कंपनीज लाइक नॉलेज मरीन इंजीनियरिंग वर्क्स शुड डू रियली वेल. Add to that, ये company एक SME थी which is now come into the NSE and BSE platform, and that is a big achievement in and of itself. So what that tells me, all of this combined is company stable है, balance sheet में ज़्यादा झूठ नहीं बोला होगा because अभी forensic accounting हुई होगी इनकी. Add to that sector पे government का focus आ रहा है. Combine all that together. Add the fact that it's a small company and that gives us a lot of room to grow, and I have a stock that I'm very interested in. Another company that needs no explanation is Kaveri Seeds. Ye one of the oldest companies in India mein when it comes to genetically modified seeds, and I have no doubt that with the government's focus coming back on the agricultural sector on rural consumption, Kaveri Seeds should do well. Ye काफी corrected bhi hai, so it might be a good point to enter. इनकी balance sheet doesn't really matter too much to me because it's a very old company. I know it's a stable company. But I have to point out that this is only a trade. मैं नहीं सोच रहा कि ये कंपनी यहाँ से 10 bagger हो जाएगी. मैं सिर्फ इतना सोच रहा हूँ कि इस volatile market में ये कंपनी शायद मेरे को 20-25% रिटर्न दे दे. Next we have Patanjali, and इन पे मेरा फोकस दो रीजन से जा रहा है. First is Baba Ramdev because he rarely fails at anything he does, and the second is seed oils. The government is focusing on seed oils a lot, and Patanjali उस सेक्टर में काफी फास्ट ग्रोइंग कंपनी है. I expect something to change in this sector with everyone getting focused on Ayurveda, people thinking about how ancient Indian medicine really works. We're all becoming health conscious as well. And in that, Patanjali might just turn out to be a winner. So this is a slightly high beta play, but I think अगर हम इसे long term में देखें तो Patanjali could be a wealth builder. Add to that, इसी सेक्टर की जो बाकी कंपनीज हैं लाइक अदानी विल्मार, उसमें प्रोमोटर्स का कुछ इशू चल रहा है, राइट? द अदानी ग्रुप इज सेलिंग अ लॉट ऑफ स्टेक इन दैट. सो आई डोंट वांट टू गो इनटू अ कंपनी लाइक दैट जहां प्रोमोटर्स ही स्टेबल नहीं हो. That is why Patanjali becomes my first pick, and the other ones like HUL and ITC, वो हमारे FMCG sector में आ ही जाते हैं. On to losers now, and one of the biggest losers from this budget was the insurance sector. हाँ, उन्होंने 100% FI investment allow कर दिया है and all that, but my problem is with a very small part of the budget, which is the ULIP plans. ULIPs are no longer part of Section 10D, which means you cannot claim tax exemption on the gains you make in ULIPs. सो अगर आपने 10 लाख की यूलिप टोटल की थी एंड वो 20 लाख हो जाता है और आप उसको विड्रॉ करते हो, तो पहले आपके गेन्स जो 10 लाख के हैं उस पर टैक्स नहीं लगता था. अब वो 10 लाख पे भी आपको 12.5% टैक्स देना पड़ेगा. एंड दिस इज अ गेम चेंजर. दिस इज मच बिगर देन इट सीम्स ऑन द सर्फेस, क्योंकि LIC रिसेंटली ने बताया था दैट उनके टोटल न्यू प्रीमियम्स में से 45%, मीनिंग नियरली हाफ, यूलिप्स में आ रहे थे. And when someone is investing in mutual funds, when someone is investing for the long term, वो हमेशा टैक्स exemptions चेक करते हैं. So I feel like ULIPs के लिए this could be a game changer and not in a good way. I would expect ULIPs, नए ULIPs specially बहुत decline करेंगे, and ये retail participation in the market जो हमारे passive flows थे जो DIS के पास जा रहे थे, उसके लिए एक बहुत बड़ा negative stroke है. So maybe जिस retail funds पे हमारा market इतनी solid तरीके से खड़ा था, even when FIs were selling, that has been shaken a little bit by the government. Why? I have no idea, or maybe I do because I did make a video about it. But the point is, from the budget, for the capital markets, especially for the passive retail flows, this ULIPs being out of tax exemptions is a big negative. And the biggest losers would obviously be the insurance companies like LIC, HDFC Life, SBI Life. So I would stay away from them, at least for the short to medium term. If you're thinking extreme long term, तो ये companies अभी भी अच्छी हैं. Of course, penetration बढ़ेगा. But short term में, I would stay away from them. And among the largest contributors to Nifty, one of the biggest winning sectors is FMCG. I've been talking about this for a month or so that if this market has any sector to invest in, it is FMCG, क्योंकि government को consumption boost देना ही पड़ेगा. And that is exactly what this budget was. The tax rebates are going to add in to small consumption, and there the biggest winners will be the likes of Dabur, HUL, Britannia. You can pick the FMCG stock you like, and that should do well. Even stocks like Indian hotels, which are part of tourism, Indigo, they should all find good footing based on this budget. But auto sector is something that I would stay away from, especially four-wheeler auto. टू व्हीलर ऑटो अच्छा कर सकता है बिकॉज द टैक्स ब्रेक्स वीव गॉटन कैन हेल्प देयर, बट इतने छोटे टैक्स ब्रेक्स इवन दो ये लगते बड़े हैं, इवेंचुअली आपको साल में मे बी यूल सेव अ लाख, मे बी 1.5 lakhs एट बेस्ट. That is too small a tax break for us to be able to buy a car or for us to be able to buy a house. तो वो वाला consumption अभी वापस नहीं आ रहा है, not based on this budget. Which is why M&M, Maruti अगर ये मंडे को फिर राइज करते हैं, I will be looking to short them, not buy into them. Another big winner is the healthcare sector where Heal in India has become a focus for this government. And that is a very high margin business. जो फॉरेन से, जो अब्रॉड से लोग आते हैं इंडिया में अपना इलाज कराने को, दे पे मच हायर मार्जिन्स देन वी एज इंडियंस डू. सो जितना ज्यादा टूरिज्म, मेडिकल टूरिज्म उस डायरेक्शन से बढ़ेगा, इन कंपनीज के लिए उतना ही अच्छा होगा. एंड देयर द प्राइम पिक्स वुड ऑब्वियसली बी अपोलो हॉस्पिटल्स एंड मैक्स हेल्थ केयर. But I would again be careful because these companies have already risen a lot. So I'm not buying into them right now. They're just a buy on big dips for me for long-term trading. And perhaps the biggest losers from this budget are infrastructure companies. And I'm talking about everything here. HAL, BEL, railway stocks, I'm talking about ACCs, I'm talking about Nava, everything linked to government expenditure is going to suffer over the next 3 to 6 months. It's very high time to book out of these stocks. The idea is, government ने जो पिछले साल अपना budget में capex expenditure release किया था, तो that was a disappointment for everyone. We had expected much more. But इस साल उन्होंने something very specially किया है. They've reduced the capex budget by 10% for this year and then increased the next year's by 11% on the reduced amount. Which means net में हमारा capex expenditure अगले साल के लिए बढ़ा ही नहीं है. Already from an amount which was less than market expectations. So that tells me government तो capex नहीं कर रही. Private capex है नहीं already. Which means ये जो हमारी companies हैं, from again defense to everything you can think of, these companies are going to suffer. Apart from domestic consumption, private small consumption, this budget hasn't really done anything for the economy as a whole. And that's where I would not be going into these companies. ये cyclically weak हो गए हैं. So all these infrastructure companies, at least for the next 2 to 3 years, or till something changes in the budget, are a strict no buy or sell on rise for me. And the biggest individual loser in this budget is probably the steel industry. And इनके ऊपर ना डबल मार पड़ी है. पहला, चाइना के ऊपर जो ट्रम्प टैरिफ्स लगा रहे हैं उसकी वजह से चाइना को कहीं और एक्सपोर्ट करना पड़ेगा अपना स्टील फॉर एग्जांपल. एंड चाइना जब डंप करता है तो वो डंप ही करता है. दे डोंट रियली केयर अबाउट प्रॉफिट मार्जिन्स और प्राइसेस. एड टू दैट, गवर्नमेंट ने स्टील पे इंपोर्ट ड्यूटी भी कम कर दी है. Which means if China really wants to dump steel, they can do so with no holds barred. And the Indian steel industry was already suffering. Prices बहुत low थे. Even though हम सोच रहे थे कि country में बहुत demand है and what not, steel prices were not really doing very well. Combine these two together and all these companies, especially the likes of SAIL, are going to have a very, very tough time going ahead. These are prime short candidates, maybe on small rises, but short candidates. And खरीदने का तो मैं सोच भी नहीं सकता इस सेक्टर में भी स्टॉक्स. एक बार शॉर्ट टर्म में 1 हफ्ते 2 हफ्ते anything can happen, but 6 months down the line I see these stocks correcting by 30-40% from here easily. And finally, about what to expect on Monday, I expect a big FIS sell-off on Monday. See, Saturday को volumes बहुत low थे compared to normal weekdays, and FIS didn't really participate yet. I believe they will on Monday, and this budget hasn't given them any reason to increase their faith in our economy. हमें चाहिए था कि कैपेक्स बढ़े, नहीं बढ़ा. हमें चाहिए था कि हम इक्विटीज को एज एन इन्वेस्टमेंट फॉस्टर करें, उसका एग्जैक्ट उल्टा ही हो गया. We thought capital gains tax कम होगा, नहीं हुआ. So this budget did give a lot to the middle class, to the salaried middle class, and I am very happy about that, right? It is high time that the Indian taxpayer gets something in return. So for that, this was a very good budget. But make no mistake, this was a budget meant to appease the people. This was not a practical budget. Yes, the middle class will do better. Very happy about that. Almost all my friends are salaried. My sisters, my brother-in-laws, they're all salaried people. I'm very happy for them. But for the economy, for the capital markets especially, this is not a good budget. And I expect the FIIs to give us a resounding no on Monday.